It's Kevin Keatsman Uncanceled on 95.7 FM, KCMO Talk Radio.
So you want to be a sports fan, huh? Oh, isn't it great? Chiefs are in last place. Royals couldn't finish the sweep, fell another game back in the wild card. KU played well but lost to Missouri. That stings. Kansas State has lost. They're a ship drifting away at sea somewhere. But if you're a Missouri Tiger fan, it's a great time to be a Tiger. We'll talk a little football coming up in 30 minutes because I'll just say this. The headline at 10:30 is, I thought it was going to be tough for the Chiefs this year. Now I think it's going to be really, 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 really tough. And I'll give you all the reasons why, man. This is, I am not optimistic for the Chiefs this year. I hope I'm wrong, but I am not optimistic after what I saw in the opener on Friday and then the other teams playing yesterday. We'll also talk a little bit about the remember that this was before George Floyd, the Michael Brown story in St. Louis, the hands up, don't shoot guy that got shot. And the friend that coined the national phrase, hands up, don't shoot. That friend of his is back in the news in a way that you won't believe. We'll share that with you coming up in a little bit. Later, a high school football game in Nevada is canceled because they had a fight. The teams got into a brawl on the field, and they canceled the game. We got all kinds of good stuff today on Uncanceled on KCMO Talk Radio, and we start today with a little-known or reported story in California. It's absolutely remarkable. A 26-year-old Turkish national named Gökhan Bakci was removed from the United States for being illegal on November of 23. And then he was deported, and he came back. And then in September of 24, he was deported again. But because Joe Biden was president, this is all pretty easy. He hurried his way back here to get back into the country before Trump took over, knowing the border would be closed. And he got back in before Trump was sworn in. And this week, he has been arrested in Sacramento County, California, for working at a child daycare center where he's charged with 4 counts of sexually abusing children under the age of 14. We removed him twice. Let's just start from the beginning. Joe Biden's policies allowed this man into this country illegally 3 times. 3 times. And he was up to no good. He'd been caught doing other things, and we removed him. Do you know how hard it was to get removed under Joe Biden? And he twice got kicked out under Biden. So we knew this is a bad guy. But he knew if he comes back before Trump is in, they're not going to stop him, and they'll let him in again. They have closed the child daycare center now because they're concerned there are others. They have some people that live in the area that don't speak English, and apparently some of these folks from Turkey know different Arabic languages or whatever, and they would hire them there. How in the world can a child daycare center hire an illegal alien that's been twice deported? How is this possible, and how is that not a criminal charge for the people that own that place? So one of the great things about Trump's first 8 months is all the things that are being exposed, the things that we see that we didn't think about much before. You know, it used to be when he'd say, oh, there's rapists, there's criminals, there's this and that, people would scoff at it and go, no, not really. We don't ever see that. Well, we've seen it. We've seen it with killers. We've seen it with rapists. We've seen it with robberies. We've seen it with drunk drivers. We've seen it with truck drivers now making illegal U-turns because they get a driver's license in California when they can't read English. And we see it in a daycare center in California where this is just not only allowed, it's accepted because we're open to everyone here, and apparently nothing else matters. But the things that we see are not as isolated as you might think. There will be critics say, oh, this is just one guy at one daycare center. No, this is just the latest guy doing the latest thing. Did you know a few days ago that Trump raided a Hyundai plant in Savannah, Georgia, where they're building cars? This was a Joe Biden deal. He flew to South Carolina in 2022, struck a deal with Hyundai, and apparently they just decided, they did a handshake deal with Hyundai. You just bring in as many South Koreans illegally, whatever you want, send them over here, pay them whatever you want, have them work there. We don't care if they have work visas. We don't care if they have anything. Not 1, not 2, not 7, not 27 workers. 475 people working at a Hyundai plant in Savannah, Georgia, are here illegally. Most of them are South Korean. We're not picking on the nations they're from. We're merely pointing out one scam after another. This is going to keep going, folks. It is going to take time to figure out all of the things that the Biden administration did to change this country fundamentally and principally. And you wonder why voter rolls are stacked for elections, how things were so welcome for all these people to come in any way they can. They get them driver's licenses. They get them IDs. They get them in to where they can vote. They were doing everything. It's not all going to be cleaned up under Trump. This is going to take a long, long time. But how, even the Trump administration, you would think 8 months in, how did it take 8 months to figure out that there's 475 illegals working at a Hyundai plant in Georgia? Wouldn't you think some local officials knew about all that? I mean, they raided this place, and they took these people in. And Trump put a statement out over the weekend. This just happened a few days ago where they did it. He said, "We encourage you to legally bring your very smart people with technical talent to build world-class products in the United States. And we will make it quickly and legally possible for you to do so. What we ask in return is that you hire and train American workers. Together, we will all work hard to make our nation not only productive, but closer in unity than ever before." U.S. Code 8, Section 1324 makes it unlawful for any person or other entity to hire, recruit, or refer for a fee for employment in the United States any alien, knowing the alien is an unauthorized alien. One would think that Hyundai would face fines or some sort of consequence for violating our laws. We'll see what Trump decides to do with Hyundai. It has been reported that the 475 workers that were arrested at the plant near Savannah, Georgia, they were here illegally or they were violating the terms of their immigrant visas. The majority, over 300 of these 475, were from South Korea. It's not going to end. It's not going to stop. This is absolutely thankless work, and we see these things happening, and it doesn't stop. It won't stop being shocking for me when I hear of a Turkish national that came here 3 times illegally under Joe Biden. They waved him in. What kind of a government, what kind of a president, what kind of a leadership team has a system in place where somebody's so bad they're deported and then you just allow them right back in? And then he's so bad you get deported again and comes right back in. Well, now they've got him, and it's Trump's got him. And this dude is bad news. That is a sick, dastardly, awful human being with a special place you know where. The parents of a 6-year-old girl caught him and turned him in. Can you imagine the things that they had to ask their 6-year-old daughter about what may have happened at daycare? And how incredibly embarrassing and uncomfortable it would be for a 6-year-old girl to talk to her parents about what this guy was doing. I can't even imagine. I can't imagine having that conversation with a teenager and adult daughter. I can't even imagine it. The situations that Americans are facing today because of all the people that have come here and done bad. Yeah, we can prop this up and say we're a nation of immigrants. I got no problem with that. We've got to be a nation of legal immigrants. We got to be a nation of people that we know. And I'm not one of these big brother guys. I want a camera on every street corner. We need to follow people and put chips in everybody's brains or whatever. No, I'm not that guy. But there should be a much higher standard of what we know about you when you come here from somewhere else. These people have to be vetted completely. I'm pretty sure my government's got a pretty good idea what I'm about. I've been around this country for a long time. Pretty sure they know who and what I am, what I'm about, right. So like we say we want our privacy. Listen, I'm happy to be private at home, wherever. You know, I don't know that I am. I don't know what my iPhone sees or hears. I don't know what my TV sees or hears. I don't know any of that stuff. I don't really care because I'm not doing anything wrong. But these people that are coming in here and are doing wrong seem like the ones that we can't see or we don't know anything about or we can't apprehend them because there's no paperwork anywhere. They're not in a computer. They were just allowed to walk in and be a gotaway. It's going to keep going. I applaud this enforcement in California. This clearly wasn't Gavin Newsom that did this in California to go get this sicko. All right, clearly was not the case. And it clearly wasn't Gavin Newsom's idea to close down the child care center, but that was a really good idea to close it down. Because if there's one pervert in there and they're just hiring illegals to work there, I mean, can you imagine as a parent finding out that the little daycare you send your kid to after school, this is a 6-year-old, so it's probably a kindergartner or a first grader, they go after school while you're working with an illegal immigrant that's been deported twice and is back again. Wow. 913-408-7957, the number to call. If you'd like to join us, let's do it. We can talk a little Trump. He had a big weekend. He went to the U.S. Open, handed out hats at the U.S. Open tennis tournament. That was cool. He's going to the Yankee game on Thursday night. It's the anniversary of 9/11. Dude is fearless. He goes to UFC fights. He goes to golf tournaments. The Ryder Cup is later this month on Long Island. I assume he'll go to that. I can't believe the places Donald Trump goes. All at the same time, Ryan Routh, or Ruth, or however you say the guy's name, the would-be assassin in Florida, is defending himself at his own trial starting today. This needs to be on TV, and I don't think it is. But this clown showed up in a gray suit today with shackles around his ankles, a red tie, and he's defending himself. So he doesn't have handcuffs on. He's allowed to take notes because he's defending himself in the courtroom. And he submitted a list to the judge of 10 questions he wanted to ask the jurors for the jury seating about bias. And the judge threw every one of them out. It was like, one of them was about Greenland. Another one was something like, what would you do if the turtle was in the middle of the road? Would you pull over and help it? Like, I mean, this guy's sick. This dude is nutso. And they've got public defenders on standby, apparently, in the courtroom in case he completely melts down and needs help defending his case. Oh, my God. Real America is actually more entertaining than any book, any Hollywood, any show, anything that's out there. The real world is kind of messed up, but we're working on it. 913-408-7957. Your call's next on KCMO. Welcome back to Uncanceled on KCMO Talk Radio. We're taking your phone calls a little bit later. We'll talk some football, including a high school game that got shut down over a brawl over the weekend. More on that still ahead. Let's go to the phones, and Steve is up first. Hello, Steve in Overland Park. How are you, sir?
Good morning, Kevin. How are you?
Fine, thank you.
Good. After your show on Thursday, I called Friday morning the Lenexa City Hall, and I asked if Lenexa was investigating Chief Lehman on the Arroyo interference or using fake IDs in the past. And they were very polite, put me on hold. And after a brief period, I was told that no one was available. Everyone was in meetings, and that I would get a call back by the end of the day. And so that was probably about 10 a.m. in the morning. Never got a return phone call. And I've been to a number of their meetings before, and it seems like there's kind of a pattern. They don't like questions. They do not let you make comments, and even don't reply to emails and Quora requests. And I think it seems as if there's a pattern there. Yeah,
they shouldn't have told you they were going to call you back if they weren't. Somebody owes you a phone call. If I were you, I'd follow up on that today and see what happens. If folks don't remember what we talked about last week, the police chief in Lenexa, which basically blew off an investigation of a councilwoman in Lenexa, that the state of Kansas doesn't know whether she's a legal resident or an illegal alien. They don't know. They very quickly concluded in Lenexa that everything was fine because this lady produced some papers and the police department just accepted that, and the mayor, and they just moved on, nothing to see here. But now the police chief is her conduct has come into light because about a year ago, apparently, she flew with an illegal ID on an airline that her boss cooked up for her. Like literally, these two women in the Lenexa Police Department forged an ID so she could fly under another person's name because they'd already purchased the ticket and didn't want to lose that money and buy another ticket. They simply didn't want to buy another plane ticket. And they forged an ID thinking, well, we're the police, we're above this, we can do whatever the heck we want. It's pathetic, really. It's sad. Yep. Good.
Yeah, I think that after going to a lot of their meetings, it seems like their attitude is, we run this place, you just live here.
Yeah. Let me know if they call you back and give them a shout back today and say nobody ever called you back. I'd love to know what they say.
Great, will do, Kevin.
Good work, buddy. Thank you. Excellent work. Very nice. Here is Joe in Lawson. Good morning, Joe. How are you?
Good morning. Hey, after watching the Chiefs game Friday night, it finally dawned on me where they're really looking to move to. It's not stay in Missouri. It's not go to Kansas. They want to wind up in Brazil.
Yeah, I don't think they want to wind up in Brazil, but they do want to be the world's team. They sold a sponsorship last week with Cheez-It in the country of Germany. Cheez-It is the official snack cracker of the Kansas City Chiefs in Germany. The Chiefs are a very big deal in Germany. Apparently, they want Ireland next because they want to play there next year. So they're trying to shop their brand around the world. There's a lot of money in that, and Clark Hunt likes money. That's why I don't think he's going to renovate his stadium. I think there's more money to be made if he builds a new one.
Yeah, but where's it going to be?
Well, I guess we'll find out in time, Joe. All these things take time, don't they? Apparently, they think we have unlimited patience on this sort of thing. Steven's in Kansas City. Hello, Steven. How are you?
Hey, Kev, what's going on, man? We set the record for all-time scoreless women's soccer defense. So there is a positive. There is a positive this weekend. We are the ultimate champions of of nil-nil soccer.
Oh, man. Nothing worse than a scoreless soccer game.
Well, I wanted to – you were referencing sort of obliquely in the opening monologue there about the Charlotte case and the animal that attacked the Ukrainian. They kind of news dumped it up Friday afternoon. And my question is, it gets no mainstream media question. A guy with a long rap sheet kills a Ukrainian who was in this country to avoid violence on the train in North Carolina. My question is there any political gain in putting down the regulators on like CBS who kind of shape the narrative and edit stories? I mean, we have the Federal Communications Commission for a reason. If you would really pound CBS on those emissions, do you think they would start reporting things about that, or they just don't want to? They want to forget this ever happened.
It's not whether or not they'll report it; it's how they'll report it when they do. And when we come back in the next segment, I'm going to talk a little bit about Michael Brown, who was the hands up, don't shoot guy in St. Louis. Well, his best friend that coined the phrase, he had his hands up, said, "Don't shoot, hands up, don't shoot," became a national battle cry. I'll explain why it's not whether they report something, because everybody's reporting the story about his friend now. Dorian Johnson is in the news, who's his friend. And we'll get into that in detail. It's not whether or not they report it. It's when they do report something about a story, how they report it, that is completely, well, you know what? These are the people that coined the phrases misinformation and disinformation, just to confuse everyone. And when they do that, that's all they're doing. And, of course, they accuse Republicans of doing that, which means the Democrats are doing that themselves.
Well, Kev, there is no coverage. There is nothing in CNN. There is nothing on Washington Post. There's nothing on every single major news
to be
outlet
fair, as of yesterday, the president of the United States didn't know about this story. So, and it's my understanding, it might have happened a little bit of time ago. I don't think it was just a couple days ago.
But they news dumped it. They news dumped what they do is you hold the footage until the middle of summer. You news dump it on a Friday afternoon, and no one covers it.
This is going to gain traction.
The game is played.
I agree with you. Thank you, Stephen, for the call. I agree with you completely, but it won't matter in this case. He's talking about the incident on that light train in Charlotte where the sicko just reached around and stabbed a lady sitting in her seat. It's ridiculous. It's going to gain a lot of traction as a story. I don't like these stories, so that's why I didn't lead with it and talk too much about it. When we come back, we'll get into what's going on in St. Louis and some Chiefs next on Uncanceled. It has been 11 years since Michael Brown was shot and killed lunging at a police officer in Ferguson, Missouri. You may remember it caused all kinds of riots and unrest in Ferguson and in St. Louis and created an environment and a time of turmoil in the United States where we went several years having what were considered or called social justice protests, things of that nature. Then George Floyd happened, and it ramped up even to a greater extent and made the Michael Brown thing look like nothing in the eyes of the media that swarmed all over it. Well, something really, I shouldn't say predictable, but unshocking happened in St. Louis. Michael Brown was the guy who went into the convenience store, shoved around the owner or the clerk there, stole goods from the store. The police went to apprehend him for stealing. There was an altercation at the window of his car, and then eventually he pulled away, and then the incident went forward. He got out, and at one point lunged toward a police officer, and the police officer shot Michael Brown and killed him. His friend, Dorian Johnson, became the key witness because Dorian was with him through all of this crime. He went into the store and ripped stuff off too, and they were basically stoned petty thieves is basically what they were. And so Dorian Johnson tells authorities, oh, no. This was just a brutal racist killing by a white officer who just gunned down a black man for no reason. And he had his hands in the air and it's like, hands up, don't shoot, my hands are up, don't shoot. You remember all this, right? Well, it was proven unequivocally in court because Dorian Johnson, who later would be hired by the city of St. Louis and given a job, and speak at the 10-year anniversary service for the death of Michael Brown, it was later proven in court after he filed lawsuits that none of it was true. He lost his lawsuit, then he lost his appeal. Dorian Johnson was a complete and utter liar about everything that happened, and it was proven in a court of law, and they tossed everything out. Dorian Johnson was shot and killed yesterday in Ferguson, Missouri, less than a mile from where Michael Brown was shot. When I say that's the least surprising story to hear, career criminals, career people that are involved in things just keep hanging around with shady people. And this is most of what the deaths are that we have in America. When we talk about homicide rates, a lot of this is black on black crime in tough areas where people are up to no good. Not all people, but enough people with guns, young gang members, theft, drugs, things of this nature, that's where a lot of this crime is piling up that Trump is trying to stop. So I thought it would be interesting to read from a website somewhere how this was being recalled. And my favorite today is CNN. CNN writes in their lead story. Again, this is not about should a story be reported or not or hidden. It's the way they report it. 11 years after the officer shooting of Michael Brown, 11 years after the officer shooting of Michael Brown in Ferguson, Missouri, that sparked waves of protest against police brutality, the friend who was with Brown when it happened has been shot dead. Dorian Johnson, 33, the victim of shooting, 8:30 Sunday morning, block of apartments less than a mile from where Brown died, according to the Ferguson Police Department. Johnson's account of Brown's 2014 killing helped inspire the iconic hands up, don't shoot protest chant heard in demonstrations across the U.S. that year. Though subsequent investigations called into question the details of Brown's actions before he died. Iconic. He's an iconic inspiration to demonstrations across the United States. Unbelievable. A person is being held in custody for Sunday's fatal shooting of Johnson. The investigation is still active, according to Ferguson police. This is crazy. CNN would go on to write that while details were inconclusive of the shooting, the Department of Justice concluded, what was the dude's name? Who was the Attorney General at the time? Obama's Department of Justice. Concluded in a civil rights inquiry that Ferguson Police Department had a, quote, pattern and practice of discrimination. So they can say details were inconclusive, but they weren't, because there were two trials in lawsuits brought by the man who was killed yesterday, Dorian Johnson. He filed suit, and he lost the case and appealed the case. And within the evidence of the case, it's very clear. Hands up, don't shoot, never happened. This is not in dispute. Nobody's disputing it except the media, who very cleverly write things like, helped inspire the iconic hands up, don't shoot protest chant. Well, that's true. If you want to say it's an inspiration and it's iconic and that these were demonstrations and not riots, I guess that's what CNN will do when they write a story about this. Those subsequent investigations called into question the details of Brown's actions before he died. That is correct. Subsequent investigations did call into question. Then they found out it never happened. It came out in court under oath. Amazingly. That's how they do it. It's just so wicked. The court proved it was all a lie. You would think they want Ferguson to go away, but now this guy's died, and they're rewriting the story like it's 2014 all over again, assuming that nobody will know that the whole thing was one giant hoax. And it was one giant hoax. All right, on to something a little lighter. Let's do a little football here. Before I get to the Chiefs, it should be noted that on our free picks for our listeners every Friday, Mark Van Sickle and myself are offering up our lock of the week. We have a dispute between the two of us, and we'll just let the listeners decide whether we're either 5-1 combined or 4-1-1. Because Mark had Iowa State last week, -2.5. But I don't know anybody other than Mark that got it at that. You got that early in the week, right?
Yeah, I got it on Wednesday.
So I'm sort of counting it as a push. I think for most of our listeners that heard that on Friday, they would have thought maybe it's a push, but I don't care. I'll go with 5-1. You make the call, Mark. Are we 5-1?
I think we're 5-1 because even if you just slide the spread from 3 to 2.5, it's not that much of a difference in the payout if you did that bet. So I think we're 5-1.
Clearly, your advice to everyone listening was take Iowa State -2.5.
Yes, exactly.
Clearly, that was the advice.
Mm-hmm.
So there you go. So that hit. What Mark said on the air hit. I had the Chargers beating the Chiefs. And so that one hit.
Easy.
And so we're helping you out. I mean, this is just free. We're just giving free winners every week. Who does that? Should we be charging for this?
Probably eventually.
That wouldn't be an OnlyFans page. What do you start up? Like
we just make a betting OnlyFans.
Like a betting only, yeah. Betting only fans. Oh my God, you're onto it. We should do this. Yes.
I think we can do it.
Betting only fans. Ladies and gentlemen, your Kansas City Chiefs are in last place. And they deserve to be in last place. And obviously, I did a podcast on this over the weekend after the game, but I like to save a little bit for radio, whatever. I am not surprised. Patrick Mahomes was exceptional. Andy Reid and his staff were not. And the other 52 players are just kind of, meh. I don't know what they have besides Patrick Mahomes. Xavier Worthy's now hurt. He collided with Travis Kelce. Second year in a row, they've lost a key wide receiver in the first game to injury because of an self-inflicted, friendly fire, I guess is what we call it. Mahomes knocked Rashee Rice out for the year last year. And now Worthy, it looks like it's going to be out quite a while. I was glad to hear it's a shoulder, not a collarbone. But whether he comes back or not, we don't really know. The details have been kind of scant on this thing. We should learn more in the next couple of days by the Chiefs. My guess is it's going to be a while. They don't have any wide receivers. Hollywood Brown had some stats in this game, but he was an extension of the running game. They were throwing him short little passes, and he did a nice job with it. I'm not bad-mouthing Hollywood Brown, although people online have nicknamed him now Wyandotte Brown, which I don't think is fair, and I don't think you should be able to say that. I think we should go with like Dollywood. I think that's unfair to Wyandotte County. I just don't think that's nice. So I'm going to go with Dollywood Brown. If we want to make fun of Hollywood Brown, we'll go Dollywood. But he was okay. I just feel like he's the next one that's going to get snapped in two. He's so little. And they used him in such a way that it was an extension of the running game because the Chiefs can't run the ball. Let me be the bad guy in Kansas City. Kareem Hunt's 100 years old, okay? And Isaiah Pacheco's a great guy, and he plays really hard. But he's just a dude.
A 7th-round pick.
Yeah. Like literally every team now, as of right now today, I think probably all 31 teams, every single one of them, not named the Chiefs, have better skill position players than Kansas City. I think the Chiefs are dead last at running back and receiver right now. Without Rashee Rice, without Worthy. Travis Kelce had a nice play. It was great. That was great. I'm glad to see Travis lost some weight. We like him, but I'm not convinced he's not brought. Well, he is Brock Bowers because Bowers is hurt now for the Raiders. Going to be out for a while, it looks like. Or Kittle, who I think also got hurt, right?
Yeah, he'll pull the hammy.
Kittle and Bowers both got hurt. So I guess it's good to have Travis at this point because he's playing.
Yeah, at least he's on the field.
He's on the field. But it couldn't have been more of a one-man show. The defense wasn't particularly good. It was okay. Spagnuolo clearly decided that the Chargers were not going to run the ball. We're going to line up here and keep you from running and see if Justin Herbert can beat us. Well, this just in, Justin Herbert can beat you. He's really good. He's been in an organization with crappy leadership and crappy coaching most of his career. Now he has Jim Harbaugh and a legitimate team. Justin Herbert's first 5 years are almost identical to Peyton Manning's. Touchdowns, yards, everything. Peyton Manning did not win a playoff game until his 6th year in the NFL. And now people are saying, oh, this is it. Look, the Chargers are the favorite to win the division now. They've got a tiebreaker at hand. I know that was their home game. It's not one. It's only the first game. But the Chiefs clearly now are going to be a team that has to coach around their deficiencies in players and ask Patrick Mahomes every week to be Superman. To be fair, there were a whole bunch of Superman quarterbacks yesterday that won. Josh Allen won late last night, pulling the rabbit out of the hat because he was Superman at the end. Aaron Rodgers, 100 years old. He had 4 touchdown passes. Looked great playing for the Steelers. So it's out there. There are those performances, and sometimes you just ride your quarterback. But that isn't a game plan. That's not worth paying your coaches for. Mahomes scrambling around being the leading rusher in the game. Undesigned, by the way. These were not designed plays. All right, all of his rushing yards were just scrambles. And he's great at it. And I'm glad he did it. He kept him in the game. He gave him a chance to win. But what's everybody else do? Y'all feel bad going to the bank, putting your check in the bank? My God, what did anybody else in that organization earn out of that Brazil game other than Patrick Mahomes? Anybody? Mark, you want to nominate somebody? A coach? Anybody? Anybody?
I can't think of anybody else.
Right. I mean, if I see 74 false start one more time, I'm going to break my television. And the problem is, this is the trouble they have. When he doesn't false start, he's good. That's a good position for him. He can really block. Oh, jeez. Mizzou takes care of KU, and KU had every chance to win this game. They had the lead. They had control. They had the ball and a chance to, put it away almost out of sight, and didn't do it. And there's one fundamental football rule is the reason Missouri was able to come back and win this game, and win it rather handily, I guess, in the end. And that is, like the Chiefs Friday night, like Kansas State on Saturday, they couldn't run the ball at all. They couldn't run anything on Missouri. So you've got the lead, but now you can't get a long, sustained drive because you can't get 3 yards or 4 yards a carry. Missouri's run defense was great. Nobody's talking about that, but the fact that KU couldn't run the ball was the difference in that game. You don't have enough time to come back. If KU can run sustained drives with the lead, they've got it, but they couldn't do it. That's the difference maybe between an SEC team and a Big 12 team. Kansas State found that out, where in the second half, the time of possession was 27 minutes to 3. They didn't have the ball. K-State never had the ball. They were never on the field. It was just the ugliest, hardest thing to watch ever. And a little bit the same with the Chiefs, who got clobbered in time of possession against the Chargers because they can't run the ball. There's no running game. It is a fundamental thing. Look, I'm not saying you got to base your offense around running it. When you get a lead or you're in a game, there's just times in a game where you have to run the ball. And if nothing else, get a couple of first downs and punt from midfield and drop them back to the 7-yard line. The clocks, you have to use it. Time of possession is probably the most under-discussed stat in the game. It's wildly important. And we saw it with the teams that lost this weekend. It did not go well for them. Tough time to be a fan in Kansas City unless you're pulling Truman's tail, and you got Truman the Tiger, baby. As Mizzou looks good, and they've won 10 games 2 years in a row, and there's nothing they're doing right now that doesn't make me believe they can do it again. A couple of fun stories to share with you here at the end. A lot of discussion about this Phillies fan, Karen, that went and demanded the ball back from the father and the son. I'm not going to be as harsh on the dad as Pete was. I think there's a lesson to be learned about not fighting with somebody in public, about maybe taking the high road or something. I don't know. And maybe the boy has baseballs or whatever. I don't know all the situation. She was so scary, I think I might have flinched like him and given her the ball too.
Flinch was crazy.
It was great. But she just came up on him.
Yeah. He was hugging his kid, and boom.
I know.
Lady shows up.
I might have just given her the ball too and said, please, just get away from me. I don't want any trouble here at the ballpark. I don't want to get ejected. I just want to have this nice day with my son. I don't think it was that it was just wimpy dad. I think he was just like, we're not doing this. This isn't happening. Have you heard about what has happened since then? A lot of it was misinformation. She didn't get fired. She wasn't a school principal. Another woman was identified that wasn't her. It's none of that stuff. But now, a gentleman that I mentioned a couple weeks ago here on Uncanceled for doing, well, he's the CEO of Camping World. And they have those giant flags. And all over the place where he has Camping Worlds in blue states, they're trying to make him take those giant American flags down. And he's fighting it, saying, no, I will fight this in a court. You're not making me take my flags down. His name is Marcus Lemonia. He took to Twitter yesterday and says he's sending the father and the son to the World Series on his dime. He's paying for all of it. And he's giving the dad a new RV to take his entire family on vacation. And he gets to keep the RV.
That's pretty sweet.
All better than a baseball.
Oh, yeah.
So good thing he didn't pick a fight with that lady. Look what he missed out on.
Yeah. Hopefully the Phillies make the World Series for him.
As Donald Trump would say, let's just give peace a chance. I love how that worked out. It was not very peaceful at a high school game, Mark. Bishop Gorman was playing Lone Peak in Nevada. I assume that's somewhere near Vegas. Could be near Reno. And they had a fight on the field, which doesn't sound like any real reason to cancel a game. Except in Nevada, they have a rule that if 3 or more players in any sport leave the bench, the game is canceled.
Interesting.
I don't think the players knew that. You know, they went out to try to help a teammate or whatever and came off. That was it. Game was over. Third quarter, it was just over. They just ended it. People were booing and going crazy. Like, I'm not sure that's a terrible rule for high school.
Yeah, it's good to keep things in line.
I'm not sure I know how they came up with 3.
Yeah, that's kind of odd. I guess it depends on what sport it is. That's not for a football team. That's not very many people coming off the bench. For a basketball team,
true enough. Yeah. The Royals had a pitcher named Aroldis Chapman. They trade Chapman for Cole Reagans.
Yep.
Right. Cole Reagans has been hurt this year. Aroldis Chapman is pitching for the Boston Red Sox this year, and he did something rare that he's done before. He struck out 4 batters yesterday in 1 inning, which means he had a wild pitch or got away from the catcher, and he made it to first base. That's not the most incredible thing. Aroldis Chapman has now retired 50 batters in a row, a major league record.
This guy's the guy that won't stop.
Dude, 50 in a row is nearly 2 perfect games, isn't it?
Yeah.
27 outs.
Yeah.
54. If he gets 4 more, that's 2 perfect games.
That's crazy.
Man, our guy Charlie Sheen can't pitch a clean inning.
I know.
He just can't do
one.
it. Oh, speaking of Charlie Sheen, there's a new documentary coming to Netflix. I can't wait to see it. Have you seen this thing promoted?
Yeah.
He's telling it all.
Uh-huh. I'm interested.
I'm definitely interested. Yamamoto is a pitcher for the Dodgers. Yesterday, he had a no-hitter going in the 9th inning. Made it 8 2/3 innings. He got 1 out to go in the 9th inning for a no-hitter. They're up 3-0 over the Orioles. And they lost the game. He gave up a single. The no-hitter went away, and the Orioles walked him off and won it 4-3 in the 9th inning.
I feel like the Dodgers have been struggling lately.
I love that one.
Makes it worse.
I do like that one. Did you see the 66-year-old freshman at Louisiana State?
No.
Kent Broussard is a retired career man. He had a career. He had a family. Raised them all. Kids are gone. And 5 years ago, he set out with one goal of something he regretted in his life that he never did. He always wanted to play in the LSU marching band. Lifelong season ticket holder, the whole deal. 5 years ago, he started watching YouTube videos of how to play a tuba. Then he took lessons. Then he got fairly proficient at it. This year, he enrolled at Louisiana State, walked in and tried out for the band, and he made it as a freshman.
That's pretty incredible.
And he played Saturday night at their game with the band. I like this story because at first glance, you're thinking he's a creeper. Aren't you? 66-year-old dude wants to hang out with the 18, 19-year-olds. Seemed a little creepy for me, but good for him. And Howard Stern says he's staying at Sirius XM Radio. Is it still Sirius XM or just Sirius?
Either way.
Either one.
We know.
They opened the show apparently today with a gag where Andy Cohen, a comedian, came out and acted like he was the host, but he's not. Howard Stern, I guess, is taking a lot less money and staying. The Vince Show's coming up next on KCMO. Have a great day, Kansas City.